It happened again.
Yes, we're live, baby. We're back in the game. What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to another installment of Rufus and I chatting about interesting things that you've asked us. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between being a freelancer and the difference between being an employee and how I've done that in the past before, creating my own company, because you don't have to just be a freelancer and just have, just be yourself. You can also create a company and things like that. And I know that Rufus and I have been talking about this with a lot of people recently, because obviously we are working and traveling. We're living the dream right now by, working and traveling. And it's quite interesting where the world's going right now with a lot of working and traveling. And I can see Rufus is jumping into the chat now. Here he is, Rufus. Your viewer request, because we're obviously, as always, going live on YouTube and on Instagram. We're doubling it. Rufus is joining the chat now. My boy Rufus, welcome to the show. I say welcome to the show. You're the other half of the show, my man.
Thank you. That's awesome.
And just for everyone, Rufus, where are you now?
Right now in Norway at my parents' house.
At your parents' house. He's moved home. He got sick and tired of me, so Rufus went back to Oslo.
Not really. We're gonna reunite in a week, approximately.
In a week. Wow, yeah. In a week and a half, actually. I'm coming back on the 4th of June.
And that's gonna be awesome. Then we're gonna live from Oslo.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to be together in Oslo for a month, and all manner of fun things are going to come together. Rufus and I are going to be producing some cool content from there for all of you. So, hey, if you're watching this and you're in Oslo and you want to meet up, hit us up. We're going to be there. We're going to be staying in a little bachelor pad. Not a bachelor pad, because Rufus isn't a bachelor, but I am. But we're going to stay in a really cool... We got a sick flat, Rufus. I can't wait to stay in that flat. Anyway, before I get into the fun things that are happening in the next few weeks with Rufus and I, thanks for joining the show. Today we're going to talk about the difference between being a freelancer and an employee and how you can maybe engineer that for yourself. And it's going to be exciting because I know that many of you right now have been made, hopefully, a remote worker. Some of your companies might never be going back to non-remote work, which is exciting because it means that you'll be able to work and travel. There are a lot of intricacies with that, right, Rufus, about taxations and about how to pay yourself and about cards. We made a few videos about that already on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't seen this, go to our YouTube channel, LUNICORN on YouTube, and check it out, because we've got some really, I'd say we've done some good videos there, Rufus, right? Using you as the guinea pig, like you're the example we use.
Yeah, because I have so many beginners questions. I still have so many beginners questions about this because I'm not experienced in it, and I want to know more because I feel it's an ocean out there with like questions that I have on this topic.
Exactly. And I know many of you have those questions too. So, hey, if you have a comment, write it in the comments. If you have a comment, write it in the comments. Well, yeah, that kind of works too. Yeah. If you have a question, write it in the comments. Rufus and I will give you an answer, whether it's in the chat or afterwards as well. So Rufus, my boy, you're in Oslo. Yeah. I'm still in Lisbon, living the dream. I love this place. By the way, if you are watching this and you have never been to Lisbon, or if you're considering where to work and travel, remote work from for a period, even if it's a week or a month or a year, I urge you to check out Lisbon. Lisbon is amazing. Right, Rufus?
It is. I want to go back there so bad.
We will go back, mate. I mean, I booked a return flight as well because I intend to come back. It's just amazing. There's so many interesting people here. It's basically a bit of a digital, so, to use the old term, a digital nomad, it's a bit of a digital nomad playground. But that's an old thing. It's all about location independence. Now, Rufus, to get to the point of today's chat, what do we want to talk about, my boy? What questions do you have?
We want to talk about full-time employee versus going freelance. Yeah. And in the end of it, I also want to, if you want to go freelance, it's a lot to think of. But first, I want to start, what is the benefits of being full-time versus freelance?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I also, I want to be honest about it as well. And so, obviously, if you're an employee, right, it's simple things like this. Like, if you've been an employee your whole life, you've never had to pay your own tax, right?
No.
Because the employer pays your tax. They take it out of your gross income, right? Like, that's their job, right? So the one major big difference between being an employee and being a freelancer or owning your own company is the admin involved, right? Like, there's so much extra admin that you have to deal with, right? Because you actually, for the first time ever, have to deal with your own taxes, and you have to pay fees to places you never knew existed. So it can be very daunting and very scary, right? So first and foremost, I want to acknowledge that, right? So as an employee, you get benefits because as an employee of most European nation companies, like if a company's in London or Norway or anywhere else, France, Italy, Spain, Portugal, an employer has to pay like pension benefits. They have to do, they have to basically give you certain benefits. Now, obviously, different employers give different benefits. If you work for a Google or a Facebook or a bank, you probably get a gym membership included. You get life insurance, dental, all these like packages and perks, they're called, which are there to incentivize you to be an employee of that firm, plus your income, right? Flip it on its head. If you're a freelancer, you have to do that all yourself, right? So that's one thing to recognize, is that if you're going to be a freelancer or own your own company and just consult through that, you have to take care of all these things yourself, right? Mm-hmm. So I will acknowledge that. Same thing for if you are a typical freelancer, you need to take on these things yourself. You have to figure it out. There's a big difference between a freelancer just being like a sole trader. In different countries, talk about the tax thing. In different countries, if you're a freelancer, you can like just be your person and invoice and bill people, but also you can create a company or even a sole trader, right? So there's different things. We're going to get into that a little bit as we go on, Rufus. But so just to answer your question straight up, Rufus, the biggest difference between freelancer and employee is obviously the comfortability and the package around being an employee, right? It's a trade-off though, because you're trading your time and a salary for the perks and the benefits and the comfortability of having a regular income. You never have to worry about your own taxes. They just magically go out of your gross income and you receive your net pay every single month from your employer, or twice a month, like they do in the US every 2 weeks.
So it comes down to like, how comfortable are you being without the safety net of being a full employee if you want to go freelance?
Correct. Yeah. And that's the reality of it, because I think, firstly, that's a big hurdle to get over, like the comfortability of not having a constant income, or the comfortability of not having someone else to handle all these admin things for you, because this really just comes down to more admin you have to deal with. But it's not much admin extra. It sounds like a lot, but it isn't. Once you go through it, there's enough resources that exist out there for anyone to be able to figure this out in a very short period of time. I guarantee you that. Rufus and I can help you too. So once you get over those initial hurdles, and it's like anything in life, like anything is difficult at the beginning before you figure it out. It seems complex, accounting, taxes, but once you go through the process, you realize it's not actually as scary as you think it is. The bottom line comes down to, when you move towards being freelance, is that there are a lot of extra benefits that are not available to someone who has a salary, right? And some of those, for example, are the fact that you can now, as you're running your own business effectively, whether you're setting up a sole trader, which means you're not like incorporating a company, or you're setting up a limited company like you would do in the UK or an RS in Norway, you can put other things that your business costs incur, you're acting as a freelancer through your business or through yourself as a sole trader, meaning that you can claim tax back that you would pay. Because like, for example, we've all heard of VAT or MVA, value added tax, in the UK and in the US and any English speaking nation. And then there's MVA, which is the Norwegian translation of, value added tax, right? And in different countries, it's anything from 15 to 25%, right? As a business purchasing a product, such as like a camera, like you and I, Rufus, if I buy a camera through the LUNICORN, well, I'll give you the example. If I buy a camera by myself and it costs me 2,000 euros, I have to pay 2,000 euros for it. You can pay less effectively per month for rent and things like that, because it goes through your business, meaning that you don't have to be taxed as an income. Because if you have a salary with an employer and you, just for argument's sake, earn 5,000 a month, right? the amount of money that you spend on that goes to taxes and things like that through that is probably around 45% or 40% or something like that, right? So, and then you have to pay your 1,000 a month rent through that, right? Now, if you're a freelancer, you could be earning less than that, but you could put maybe 200, 300, 400 of that 1,000 a month through the company as office space, for example, right? That's one option. You can do that if you're being a permanent freelancer, freelancing in the same city, having the same flat. You have to do it within reason. Obviously, the tax accountants in this will tell you that you have to be careful about that because you can't put too much through the company. So being a freelancer starts to become quite beneficial when you look at it as like, you might not take home the same salary, but you can basically make back taxes in different areas of your life. Transport,
but do you only
flights.
can you only claim those once a year when you like give in your like tax payment, or how
Not
do
in
you do?
Norway, it's done on a 6 times a year. You do it every 2 months, the taxing. So no, you submit your VAT every single 2 months or so. You can actually select when you have a company, and that's the big difference between it being a freelancer just by yourself, a sole trader, and being a freelancer as a company, a limited incorporated freelancer, versus being a freelancer just by yourself. If you incorporate as a limited company, then you can claim these taxes back a lot easier, right? And you can really benefit from that. So, and you can do it, and you also set when you create a company, you set when you do your VAT and your other taxes. You set whether you do it on a 2-month basis, a 3-month, a quarterly basis, a half-year basis. You can set that up, and obviously there are accounting firms and accounting softwares, and that's the other thing a lot of freelancers worry about, like talking about doing your own taxes, is that, oh God, I have to do all these difficult things, where in reality you can use a lot of online services that are born for you to do that kind of stuff, and it doesn't cost you a fortune. I actually have I said physical, I almost said physical accountants. I have real accountants. I have two lovely ladies who handle my accounts for all my companies, right? And that can get a little bit more expensive because I pay them anything from 2 to 4,000 NOK, so 2 to 400 euros a month.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be a little bit more than that. On average, in a year, I think I spend about 4 to 5,000 euros per company. But obviously, then now I need to make sure that I make enough money in the company to be able to pay that, but before I pay myself and things like that, right? So
Do you think
something
the
to think
average
about.
person can like go on without hiring accountants
For sure,
to
yeah. So
actually do this?
in Norway, there's a company called Fiken, Fike with .no, which does automatic accounting services, MBA services. You pay, I think, 79 kroners, so €8 a month for the basic version, and then it's up to like 70 euros for the premium version. But like 70 euros a month, and then they handle everything. They handle all the taxes, they handle all the MVAs, all these types of things. So it's really worth it. In the UK, there's lots of different services as well. I like having an individual because I get to talk to them when I want. I get to ask questions. But these digital systems also allow you to do all the invoicing as well. So it's very easy to do invoicing as a freelancer as well. So don't forget that there are a lot of companies that have been created in the last 15 years for freelancers to make freelancing easy. You can put your profile on a platform and then people can select you to work. There's Upwork, there's all these different like platforms as well, Fiverr, where people can buy a service off a platform for you. Excuse me. So you can definitely get customers and clients. My biggest recommendation would be, if you're going to go from being an employee to be a freelancer, is try to keep your employer as one of your customers. So
Yeah,
say
because
to an employer,
that is one of the questions I have. Like, which type of people should go from full time to freelance? What should they think of like when they're making the switch? And because it has to be like they have to recognize like, okay, I want to be freelance because I want to control my time. I want to do this so I can like grow something else, or it has to be more benefits than working as a full time right now.
what was the question?
My question is, what should you look after when you want to do the switch over to from
Yes.
full time to freelance?
Yeah. So like I said, I think I would try to. So for example, you're working in a job and have a salary. I would say, hey, I would like to move towards freelance, and so I would like to basically become a consultant of yours, meaning that you take that contract value over into yourself or a company that you incorporate. And what I would be mindful of is if you employ yourself through your own company, if you set up a company like a limited company or whatever it might be, you have to play in the UK, it's called PAYE, payee, which is basically you have to pay a fee to employ someone basically, and it's a percentage of gross salary as well. So in Norway, you have to pay 14.1% on top of the gross salary. So if you earn 100,000, basically the company if you're an employee and you earn 100,000 a year, right?
Yep.
And then you go to being a freelancer with the same contract, right? You're going to earn less, take home less, because as an employer, you have to pay 14.1% in Norway to the government to employ someone. Meaning, so you need to factor these things in. And that's why freelancers tend to earn more, because they're basically selling time, right? As opposed to a salary with perks. So it's very common for, if you were to leave an employer and say, I'm going to be a freelancer for you at an 80% or 60% basis, you might be earning the same amount of money on a freelance basis, plus the VAT you add to that, because you're not, firstly, you're not getting all the benefits. Like if you're an employer and you employ someone and they're an employee of yours, yes, you pay them 100,000 a year, for example, but then you think about, okay, well, it's 114,000 with the employee tax, and then actually all the perks and benefits add another 15. So it's actually 30% extra than their gross salary. You pay them their net value, like their gross value to the company, and the gross cost, right?
Yeah.
So if you go to freelance, you're selling hours and time, or on a project basis. So you basically sell your time at a higher rate to what you would in a company, that you have the security and the blanket around that. Which means that you have actually higher earning potential as a freelancer, for sure, if you optimize your time and you actually sell your time on a proper basis, and you do a good job of that. So I would recommend trying to take your existing employer on as a customer on a rolling 3 to 6 month basis, for example. So like, buy yourself some security, like try and get a strong single income of one customer. You want to have rich customers and poor customers, those who can afford to pay you, a decent amount of money. And then you obviously have customers that come along every now and then. So try and get a cornerstone customer that comes on as a rolling basis. Now, you also need to be careful as a freelancer if you do that, because in some countries like the UK and in Norway, if you just have one customer and you're a freelancer, the government can say, hold on a minute, no, you're an employee of this person, even though you're doing it as a freelancer. After 11 months, like after a year, they say, if they wanted to, the government prove that you're a freelancer. Like if you were working in their office, if you were benefiting from their system, but you were just being paid as a freelancer, the government could then all of a sudden make that company pay the employee tax and make you pay your, the tax on that, basically, right? So you need to be a little bit careful of those kind of things. So do some research, basically. Try to bring on a cornerstone customer that can pay a good portion of your living standard, and then bring on other customers as you go.
What is the normal like contract build up when you're a freelancer? Is that you have like 3 months, 6 months, or is it like yes, it's gonna be a mission for like it's gonna take 5 weeks?
Project based. It can be project based. So it could be like, I need a website designed, and that takes me 15 hours. And then you give a quote, and then you quote them for 15 hours, and you say, I'll do 2 hours, so it'll take me 7 days, or whatever, right? Or 7.5 days. So it all depends on what you're selling, right? And if you're lucky, you can basically manage say you're managing a social media account, then obviously you can say that I'll work for you 1 day a week. So that's 5 hours a week. That's 20, 30, 25, 30 hours or whatever a month, or whatever it is, and then you pay me on an hourly basis for that. And that can be a rolling contract with a 3-month break clause. Obviously, someone has to, if they want to get out of it, they can break it. But it just protects you, that you have some secure-ish income. And that's the biggest worry for anyone who goes freelance, is that obviously you don't have the guarantee of the income. So that's why I say, try to take your employer as your first customer and get them on a kind of rolling basis. And then when you build the confidence up and you feel that you've figured this all out, so it's always nice when you go freelance to have a little bit of a cash buffer if you can, just so that you don't feel so stressed out and you get like turned off the whole process. Try and have a little bit of a savings that your rent is covered for at least 3 months or something like that. But you never underestimate the power of like having to like not struggle, but like having to actually go out there and make money. You're going to go out there and you're going to meet great people. You're going to try and push yourself into new industries. You're going to go out there and be active. So it can be really positive. And like before you know it, and I had that experience too, you end up earning way more than you thought you could. And you learn the system, you learn how the taxing works, you learn how to invoice, and you learn how to maybe put a dinner, like business dinners on the company and things like this. So it can be a really great system. And the freedom, let's not mention that, the freedom that you get with it.
What is the benefits from the company perspective of hiring a freelancer?
So the benefit of hiring a freelancer is that you don't get you don't have to pay all the perks and the benefits, right? So you'll have to pay the 25% VAT on top of that value of that person, that like the contract value, but that's claimed back and cancelled out over other stuff you gained, right? So it costs the company less, And it's easy. And if you want to end the contract today, depending on the contract, you say, all right, Rufus, well, we had a 2-week break clause, so we're just going to end the contract today. Whereas if you want to fire someone, that's very cumbersome. You have to go through processes in Norway and in the UK and in France. It's almost impossible to fire someone. So for a company, it's really great to have freelancers. But obviously there are negatives, of course, because they're not like 100% in the company, maybe, depending on how you manage that. So you can't have it all, right? But there are benefits in both sides and negatives in both sides. And I personally think going freelance and managing yourself through your own business and selling services is the winner, because it gives you complete freedom. You learn loads of new interesting skill sets, and you learn to sell yourself. You learn to sell a service. So there's a lot of really interesting things that you learn as a person if you go freelance or run your own company and sell your services through that. It's something that I'd highly recommend.
I have a theory of if you're a freelancer, please kill it if it's wrong. If you're a freelancer, you're most likely to be an expert in your area. Is it possible to like go freelance before you feel that you're expert in the field? Because if you're not an expert, why should the company hire a freelance and not like hire in-house?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, right? So obviously, if you go freelance, you need to have something to sell, it doesn't have to be a service. It could also be managing your own e-commerce website or whatever other types of businesses you can do, right? But in reality, you need to have some kind of skill set. So, it is easier to go freelance, not like when you first start out, right? Unless you have like a very good design background and you've been studying that, and you have some really good campaigns that you've done or some creative work that you can show and use that as like to bring in customers, right? So you just have to be smart about like what is my unique selling point, literally, like am I good at X, Y, and Z, and then also then having a network to be able to sell yourself into, because there's no guarantee if you just start out of university, you don't have any network, who are you going to sell to? You're going to be cold messaging people, and that's definitely doable, but it's definitely hard. Whereas if you have an existing customer base, or you have a network because you've worked for a few years and you've developed a bit of a skill set and a process and understanding, then it's a lot easier to set yourself up, because you also maybe have also some savings now. So you have a security blanket, so you don't have to stress too much in the first 3 months. But also you can go to these customers you've worked with before and say, hey, by the way, I'm an agent for hire. And, I can do project based, or I can do sort of, more long-term stuff too. So, yeah.
Yeah. Should we ask if anyone has any questions to us about freelance or full-time hiring? It's like, if you guys have any question, please reach out on IGTV or the live, live on YouTube or Instagram.
Exactly. Then we'll finish this one there, Rufus. Unless you have anything else, are you happy?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Awesome, buddy. All right. Thanks, Rufus. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Really appreciate it. And we will chat to you all soon. Ciao.